Hello everyone! I'm going to share with you how I make my shrimp chowder. These are the ingredients that I'm going to be using. I'll also have a list of ingredients in the description box below, but what I'm going to share with you and show you is how I take those ingredients and put them together to make this yummy and very simple and quick chowder. I'm going to first make quick work of my celery. I'm using 2 celery ribs, and I'm going to go ahead, I've washed them, dried them off, and I chop up my celery ribs about dime size, but no smaller than a pea. Now once I have my celery ribs all chopped up and ready to go, then I'm going to work on my onion. I'm using a yellow onion. You can also use a sweet onion too if you like. It also gives nice flavor to the chowder. I'm using half of a large onion. This is going to give me about a cup to about a cup and a fourth of onion. And I like to do my onion about that same size, about say like a dime or say pea size. Right around there is good. I'm using Yukon gold potatoes, and I like to chop them about a nickel, no bigger than a quarter, but right around there. In my pot, I've melted 2 tablespoons of butter, and then I add the chopped celery and the chopped onion. I'm going to saute this until my celery and my onion become nice and translucent and start to soften up a bit. They're not going to be totally soft. They're just going to start to kind of soften up because they still are going to go ahead and simmer and cook with the rest of our ingredients. And that's what you want it to look like. Then I'm going to go ahead, I put in 1 teaspoon of dry thyme. And then I'm also going to put in 1 bay leaf. And once I put in my thyme and my bay leaf, I like to saute those as well with the butter and also with the celery and the onion. Now once I've sauteed those just for maybe about 30 seconds to about a minute, next to my pot, I'm going to add in my chicken stock. And you can use either chicken broth or either chicken stock. If you have a seafood stock or shrimp stock, that also works really good. But what I have on hand and that I normally use is my chicken stock. And so I'll go ahead and I put in my chicken stock. And again, you can also use chicken broth. That'll also work. At this point, I like to go ahead and stir up my pot just a bit. And then I'm adding in the potatoes that I cut up earlier. And I'm using those Yukon gold potatoes. I like the Yukon gold potatoes when I'm making my chowder. They just hold up better to me in the chowder, and from stewing it's just going to hold up better, not break down as quickly as using say a russet potato. You can definitely use a russet potato though if you have that on hand, but I would add it in once I added in the half and half. Now I'm going to put in some Old Bay, and the Old Bay is going to be to your taste. I always like to start off with a teaspoon of Old Bay and then work from there. And so I'm starting off with the teaspoon of Old Bay. Later on, when we taste our chowder to see how it's tasting, we can always add more seasoning, but you definitely can't take away. And so just start with a little bit and then add it up to your taste and your preference when it comes to the seasoning. I'm going to put the top on. Actually, I'm going to just put a little bit of skew. I have my pot right now on a medium to high heat. Let the potatoes boil. Our potatoes are looking good. Everything is coming together nicely. Our potatoes look like they are just about 90% done. They're just almost there. So now at this point, I put in my half and half. I'm going to use 3 cups total. I put in 2 cups of half and half. Then to my 3rd cup of half and half, I added 2 tablespoons of regular all-purpose flour. I used my fork and I whisked that around and make a slurry with that 1 cup of half and half and 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. I add that also to the pot. I'm going to do a quick mix. I'm going to put the top on my pot. I have my flame is on a high heat, so that way it can come to a nice quick rolling boil. As soon as my pot comes to a nice rolling boil, I'm going to give everything a stir, and I'm also going to taste it for seasoning. In addition to my shrimp chowder, I also have a wonderful recipe for corn chowder, and I will put a link to that vlog in the description box below. And when tasting your chowder at this point, this is a great time to go ahead and add additional Old Bay if you like. It needs a little bit more salt and a little bit more pepper. I think that should do it. It should be right on the money where I like it. This is also a wonderful chowder if you're going to be having oyster crackers. Also, if you have some nice crusty bread or some sourdough bread, or even if you want to treat everybody and put them in a bread bowl. Our bay leaf has done its job. I go ahead and remove that. I'm using 1 pound of shrimp. These are the large deveined shrimp, so they've been cleaned, and I've also deveined them. This is a 31 to 40 count shrimp, meaning you get in the bag usually about 31 to 40 shrimp per pound. I'm going to leave my flame on low. I'm going to put the top on my pot. My pot is still really hot, and I'm going to let that residual heat plus the flame being on low finish cooking and go ahead and cook through my shrimp. Shrimp don't take very long to cook at all, so the nice hot liquid that they're in plus having it on low is going to be enough to go ahead and let my shrimp finish up that cooking process. They're going to go from gray to a nice plump pink color, that pink opaque color. As soon as they turn that color, I turn off that low flame, I add a little bit of parsley, and our clam chowder is ready to enjoy. And as our pot cools, the clam chowder continues to thicken up. And even without the shrimp, this still makes a great creamy potato soup. Well, this is your bite. Go ahead and take your bite. Now I'm going to take my bite and see how we did. This is so good. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.